up, Connor? How's it going? Yeah. How's everybody doing? Oh, fuck that dude. Did you see that? You can run people over in this shit. Check it out. Oh, so good. Oh. Fuck you. Oh. Hey everybody. Yeah, the music for this game is awesome. I think it's fucking great. So thank you for joining me on, I guess, episode 89. Is that where we're at? Of MAME Politics. Today's episode is Jackal for the NES. A relatively overlooked Konami game. It's not a later period Konami game like Zen was, which I know I really leaned on there about how special that game was. But this is another, at least for me in my childhood, overlooked Konami game. I don't remember ever playing this when I was a kid. So I decided to play it today, and I have to say I'm really liking it. It's a very, very solidly made Nintendo game. And I don't know if it's based on an arcade. I don't think it is. But it's great. It's great. It's got great music. So, first of all, I guess I'll just start right now by saying, or asking, how many of you guys saw Trump's shooting the first shot in the Civil War, his opening salvo of the Civil War speech? I am obviously being sarcastic because that was some of the lowest energy shit I've ever seen in my life from Trump. Unbelievable Jeb level energy. Unbelievable. Please clap energy. I mean, I swear to God, I don't understand why he just doesn't do a concession speech already. I've never seen him that deflated. He should have just gone out there riffing, talking about, something that seemed impassioned about how corrupt or unfair he thought this was. It was just him reading from a piece of paper with a new talking point about counting all the legal votes. And I don't know if you saw this news, but literally like 10 to 15 minutes before Trump's Jeb Bush-style speech, Steve Bannon said that Christopher Wray and Anthony Fauci should be decapitated and their heads should be put on pikes in front of the White House. I'm not joking. Steve Bannon actually said this shit on War Room Pandemic. Full-on kamikaze move. I mean, I don't understand what the goal of that was other than to just be kicked off Twitter today. Which he did. War Room Pandemic, unfortunately, has been kicked off Twitter. And that sucks because Well, I'm not for deplatforming anybody, but I am disappointed because like a bunch of my quote tweets for the past like month are just like War Room Pandemic quote tweets. And I've been talking about them a lot. And sadly, apparently their YouTube channel is down right now. I would actually, if anyone's watching MAME Politics right now, if you want to cruise over to another area of YouTube, double check for me to see if War Room Pandemic channel is still online, because I was planning on ripping about 30 clips from War Room Pandemic to use in a future documentary. I will be sad if I can't rip those anymore. Word to the wise out there, if you are working on a documentary or planning to, rip all your videos now. Like, rip them immediately. Don't save the URLs. Don't think you can get away with writing down time codes. Unless it's a video on C-SPAN, which probably won't be pulled down, but almost every other website, the videos in some form are going to be pulled down or inaccessible, especially YouTube. Amit, thank you for confirming. It actually, War Room Pandemic is still online. So, it's good news. Good news. Oh, and before Steve Bannon called for the beheadings of Christopher Wray and Anthony Fauci, he said that Jack Dorsey should be arrested for censoring the president's tweets. Pretty amazing stuff going on today. Richard Grenell, Trump's old advisor, being chased and running to hide in a van by a lackey, dumb piece of shit MSNBC reporter. I mean, I have never seen the Trump administration telegraph this much weakness before. This is insane. Don Jr. basically begging his dad to fight on Twitter. I mean, that is the most pathetic, sad shit I've seen in a long time. I'm blown away. I'm blown away. And look, I don't really care either way, honestly. I'm actually pretty neutral on if Trump wins or if Biden wins. I'm not very invested in it. What I am invested, though, is watching all these MAGA fucktards completely eat shit and have the sads all day long and act all like tough and strut around like Cassandra Fairbanks saying, we're going to bring a world of pain and we're going to act like everything they said, the worst things they said about Trump, we're going to be that. And it's like, you're not going to do shit, you dumb bitch. You're not going to do fucking shit. Try your worst, dude. You guys all got fooled thinking that a Hunter Biden laptop leak had videos on it of him raping Chinese children. You're the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet. I mean, actually, I don't even know if they really believe that. They were saying that. But it's just like, we were promised a Pizzagate 2, and all we got was Hunter Biden's cock fucking stacked up with M&Ms. That's not Pizzagate 2. It's just a total flub. I can't believe it. I honestly can't believe it. Whose idea was it to roll out those Hunter Biden laptop leaks? Why did they even put out the dick pics at all? Because ultimately, it was just a distraction from whatever shady business deals he was doing, right? I mean, if that was really the meat of that, why would they even leak any pictures of Hunter Biden's penis at all? It makes no sense. Yeah, leak the picture of him smoking crack, maybe, a clip of the foot job video, but the whole 15-minute foot job video, Miles Guo and Steve Bannon wanted to make us watch Hunter Biden getting a foot job for 10 minutes and then finishing himself off and coming on himself. They made us watch that shit. Steve Bannon made me watch Hunter Biden jack off. It's kind of unbelievable. That was the October surprise. I got to watch Hunter Biden making himself come on video. Thank you, Steve Bannon. Thank you. So I know I'm a little fired up right now. Hold on a second. Let me, I guess that's okay. I feel like my room looks like an utter fucking mess. If Jordan Peterson watched this, he'd be upset. So give me 1 second. It's my secret way of hiding my dirty room, is to put a blanket over it. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but sometimes in the background of my videos, I have this. Um, and I was thinking, do you think I would be able to get away with this next Halloween if I just put this on my roof, but like had no other Halloween decorations? Um, oh, Carl Knight, that's awesome. Well, as someone who was conceived after an Ionis Xenicus show, I hope you don't mind me mentioning that. Um, that makes sense that you would like Zoviet France's Lowland, which is a fantastic album that I recommend everybody listen to. I'm glad you liked it. If you liked Lowland, Carl, you'd probably like a lot of other Zoviet France stuff. So you have a lot of stuff to check out. I mean, they have probably about 20 full length albums. Jenny Lynn, Jenny Lynn says, I learned something new at least. There's a whole porn genre dedicated to meth heads. Are you just saying that as a joke, or is there really one that I'm missing? Because I want to know about all porn genres. So if I have missed one about meth heads, I need to check that out. Um, you saw Hunter Biden doing blow off a woman's ass? I missed that one. Clark Worthington, Eostre is my fave so far by Zoviet France. Eostre is one of the strongest, I think, complete albums I've ever put out besides Lowland, except Lowland's a little more all over the place. It's got way more shorter tracks. Eostre is nice because it's got some long sort of tracks that have room to breathe. So if you like an album with longer tracks, Eostre, I think, would probably be your preference. Jenny Lynn says Hunter Biden has a Pornhub and one of his playlists is meth porn. No way. That is amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. I mean, I know there's like smoking porn and intox porn where it's like people really fucked up. But I don't watch that stuff. Patrick Blair, yeah, Eostre is tough to find. Have you tried Discogs or eBay? Sometimes Zoviet France albums pop up on eBay. I have a copy, of course. I'd say the only part of the Zoviet France physical collection that I'm missing is cassettes. I have the full vinyl set of theirs, but I don't have any of the cassettes. I mean, I don't have all the cassettes. I have maybe about half. So I don't have popular Soviet songs and music, which is probably one of the more harder to find cassette tapes. Oh yeah, Patrick Blair. Don't get the reissues from Russia. Um, Patrick Blair. What I would recommend is you actually maybe even buy the Chaste box set. They're new remasters. They're official. They're not bootlegs from Russia, and they're and includes unreleased material. There's 2 box sets, so they just released a second one, and it hasn't arrived yet. I ordered one, and it hasn't arrived yet, and I'm really excited. It's the first vinyl I've probably purchased in like maybe 4 years. Jenny Lynn, is that Pornhub account still online or is it down yet? And also, Jenny Lynn, did you happen to see anything on that Pornhub account that looked clearly like it's unmistakably Hunter Biden? Like if you didn't know already the context, would a random stranger come across that page and be like, "Oh my God, that's Hunter Biden," or was it sort of anonymized enough where you might not know it's him unless you read about it? Because that'd be pretty crazy if he just uploaded a really obvious like porn video of himself. And on some level, it's totally not surprising to me if you had a Pornhub account. Let me explain. I mean, I think being a sex addict in the modern age, especially if you're like into yourself, he seemed like he was. What did Louis C.K. say about himself in his last comedy special? That he, when he jerks off, he likes an audience. He like tried to do a whole comedy bit about that. I mean, I think Hunter Biden is clearly a sex addict, clearly a drug addict. So it would actually make perfect sense to me if he's also like an exhibitionist, or he wants people to watch him jerk off or whatever. Jenny Lynn, would you mind describing that in any more detail? Or is that, I mean, a video of his schlong? Like just hanging out, or? I'm just going to keep this chat kind of casual today because I mean, I'm not going to only talk about Hunter Biden's penis for the whole episode, I promise. But I want to play a little bit more Jackal because this game rules. This game is really, really good. I think you'll agree. Oh! The music for this is fantastic. I love it. I love all the little rhythmic changes, the drums. Fucking great. God, some of these Konami music composers back in the day, man, they're like the top tier. I mean... Oh man, this is good shit. Fuck! Just so you know, I am cheating. I am using a turbo controller, which I consider cheating. Otherwise, this game is actually a lot harder. Gives you a pretty big advantage. So, you'll see me doing maybe better than I usually do in a game. That's why. Oh, you motherfucker! I love that you have to drop off your guys at like the helipad wall. A bunch of shit's happening around you. It's pretty cool. It's a nice... It adds some like nice realistic element to the game. I have to wait for the helicopter to land though, it looks like. It's kind of lame. What? Spun fun. Okay, I'm gonna look it up right now. Cause I'm just too curious. Spun fun. One was it? Is it 2 words? Most of these look like pretty raw amateur porn videos that are popping up on my search results. Interesting. It doesn't look like a genre of porn that is well established enough to have like professional photo or like shoots. Okay. Trump ahead by 0.1% in Georgia. Director Westfield, there's a lot of HD amateur porn out these days. I mean, it's there's definitely a lot of that out there. I had a crackpot idea like maybe 8 years ago about starting an HD porn website, where people submit their own stuff, and then I realized how much of like a legal mess it would be. Like, I don't even understand how Pornhub operates in terms of like age of consent laws, or some of those websites do, because I don't think they make you verify like a photo ID. So that's one of the things that skeezes me out about all that stuff, is I feel that it's just too legally dubious, for one thing, and then there's other dubious aspects of it as well. But um, it seems a little sketchy. Yep, Clark, you're right. You're absolutely right. Extremely expensive, not just to store but to stream too. I mean, it's like the storage would be expensive, but also the bandwidth required to stream it in high quality to a lot of people would have been a hard thing to pull off. JNNX, I don't know if that's true, that when you say all those sites are operated by organized crime. I think there's some truth to what you're saying. I think that when you get into like the sex worker industry, or even like the medical marijuana industry, what you'll find is there are aspects of it that cross over with the so-called black market, because sex work is actually largely illegal in the United States. Only porn and certain forms of sex work are legal. So even a lot of sex workers who mostly do like cams or porn films will also do prostitution on the side, which is really only legal in Nevada, and I think like I don't know where else. I don't even know where else in the United States it's decriminalized. Um, Faint signals from Vega. I think a lot of people are making money on Pornhub. Yes, especially if you sort of. It's almost like getting a social media following. Um, but I think OnlyFans is more for it's sort of more subscription based. Pornhub is mostly based around individual videos being monetized, so you can like purchase videos. OnlyFans is more of like a social media. It's more of like a Patreon, I think, kind of thing. Here's something that I brought up with Abby on the podcast. We didn't get too deep into it because, you know, it's not Media Roots material, but it's MAME politics material, because anything goes on this show. But I sometimes wonder what it's like raising a child with the internet these days, because of how easy it is to instantly get access to hardcore pornography. I don't believe that exposing a child necessarily. Like if a child accidentally comes across it, they're going to be like ruined for life or anything. I mean, I think that used to sort of be like this fear that people had that porn would sort of like mess a kid up if they saw it, or like it would distort their ideas of sex. I mean, I think there is some truth to the last thing I said, but I'm just wondering how, as a parent, is there any parent in here that has actually had to like figure out some way to rig their home internet so that their kids can't access pornography? Or are you simply the type of parent that is just like, whatever, you know, my kid's going to be eventually come across it at some point. So what's the big deal? And how do you sort of have that balance? Well, Jenny Lynn, I mean, having a daughter is not necessarily going to preclude you from this happening. I'm being equal opportunity here. Women also watch porn. You know, young girls watch porn. So how do you prevent, or just what are your thoughts on that? I guess in general. Clark Worthington, yeah, that's a good point. Clark says, I think opening them up to all worldviews is more dangerous than porn. I'd be freaked out about them finding crazy Q stuff. Yeah. I think I'd probably be most worried about, like, if I had a teenage boy or I had a young boy and they got into like the red pill, like misogynist or racist or pickup artistry or incel stuff. That to me would probably be more troubling than any form of porn. Like, you know, accidentally coming across it. I mean, I guess let me take a survey in the room. How many people in here think that prostitution should be completely, at least decriminalized in the United States? Is there anybody here in this chat that thinks that prostitution should be a jailable offense, either by a customer or the person offering the services? Do you think it's too much right now to like add this onto a leftist platform? I mean, it seems like the decriminalization of drugs is becoming increasingly popular. And it's surprisingly not being talked about as much as, like, I see all these laws being passed in local jurisdictions, like parts of Oregon, just decriminalize hard drugs, for example. Um, yeah, Jenny, I agree with you. Jenny says, I think it would be popularly supported. I mean, I think I'm surprised that it's not more being talked about right now, especially because I feel like, not that Backpage and Red Page or whatever those websites were necessarily like great examples of this, but I think that they open the door for a lot more easily accessibility to prostitution, and also made it much easier for sex workers to actually run their businesses. And I talked about a little bit about this on Media Roots, that there was a law passed called FOSTA and SESTA, which basically made it much more difficult for these websites to operate, because they were going to be liable for if anybody underage sold sexual services on their website. And because of that, even Craigslist removed all of their personal ads. When I say personal ads, I don't just mean sex-related personal ads, I mean all of them. Because in their mind, they were worried that anything that appeared transactional in any way, and keep in mind, a lot of the things on Craigslist sort of had this sort of novelty transactional aspect for a little while. It's like there were people like posting ads saying like, I want you to come scratch my back and then I'll cuddle with you. Like there were like personal ads like that on Craigslist, and those are all gone now because Craigslist, the guy who runs it was basically like, FOSTA and SESTA makes it so that even those type of ads could be classified as illegal or aiding child sex trafficking if it happens to be someone underage. Even if someone of their own free will who's underage posts an ad online, it's Craigslist's responsibility, legally speaking, with that new draconian legislation. So I feel that we've actually had a setback, and I'm a little surprised that there's not more leftists or people on the left or even libertarians pushing against it. Sadly, I think libertarians are taking the lead on this more than really anybody else. Like Reason Magazine, sadly, has done more serious writing on this subject than any leftist publication that I've seen. A lot more. So, I don't know, it's just something I think about. I mean, it's funny how we went to joking around about Hunter Biden's meth porn fetish to actually trying to have a serious discussion about sex work. That's why I like doing the show. Has anybody been watching the new season of Fargo with Chris Rock? I don't think Abby was that into it, but I was really surprised how much I liked it. I'm really, really liking the direction of it and the vibe of it. I like the music a lot in it. I think some of the characters are pretty great. The Italian brother who comes over to take care of business. Clark Worthington, I mean, it is a little like weird to watch the show Fargo at first, because if you're a big fan of the Coen brothers and the movie, you'll immediately be like, I don't get this. This feels like one of those cheap 80s TV shows that's like trying to be a spin-off of a movie and not landing. But if you give it some time and you just sort of ride with it, I think you'll actually get into it. Season 1 and 2 of Fargo, I think, are very strong. Season 2 is totally different. Season 1 is a little bit more like Jerry Lundegaard from the movie Fargo. It parallels a little more, I think, the story in the movie. It has similar like beats. The rest of the seasons are oddly referencing other Coen brothers movies. So like in this new season of Fargo, season 4, did I say season 3? I meant season 4. They're referencing like Raising Arizona. They're referencing Miller's Crossing. They're even referencing aspects of No Country for Old Men. Sometimes it's cool. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's a line from Raising Arizona or whatever. And it's not that cool. But the cast of the new Fargo season is like, I think probably the best cast that they've had so far. Chris Rock plays like the head of the sort of the black mafia side, and they're warring against the Italians. And I think it's like supposed to take place in like the early 1950s or the late 1940s. Yeah, Carter Burwell, who does the score for I think all of the Coen Brothers movies except for Inside Llewyn Davis and Oh Brother, Where Out Thou, where what did I just say? How come I can't say that? He's done like all their scores, and Fargo is one of his better ones. I actually, if I'm being completely honest, I feel that the Coen brothers started to branch off in a direction that I wasn't in love with after Oh Brother, and they weren't as consistently great for me after that. Before that, I think every single movie they did before Oh Brother is a masterpiece. Um, it's hard for me to think of one that isn't actually before that. So, Blood Simple, Miller's Crossing, Barton Fink, Raising Arizona, Fargo, Hudsucker Proxy, which I think, if I'm being honest, is probably my least favorite one of that first era of their filmmaking. Still a great movie. All of those movies are a masterpiece on some level. And what's interesting is Hudsucker Proxy is you maybe weren't fully aware of it when you first saw it, but Hudsucker Proxy is an extremely over budget movie. It lost a lot of money. It was the Coen brothers by far their most expensive movie at the time. And when you rewatch it now and with that in mind, you can really tell. You're like, oh my God, like there really is a whole miniature Art Deco, old school New York City set that they built. Like a bigature. When I say miniature, I mean like, the buildings were like 6 feet tall or whatever. Blaster Master, I must disagree with you. I really, really thought that The Lady Killers was fantastic. Their remake of The Lady Killers. I thought that Burn After Reading was also fantastic. The other ones with George Clooney in it, I'm not so much in love with. But Burn After Reading and Lady Killers, I think are really, really good. I don't have an anti-Lebowski stance. I will admit that when I first saw Lebowski, I did not fully love it. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that Oh Brother came out after Lebowski, right? No, I love The Big Lebowski. It took a while to grow on me in the way that it has now. That's funny, Blaster Master. I thought Tom Hanks in it was great. I mean, he was very over the top. I thought he was really good in that, actually. Oh, Robot Gaming. I didn't remember that Carter Burwell did the score for In Bruges. I need to check that out. Trish, I know you're asking a serious question about Robin Williams' death. You ask, does anyone think he died of autoerotic asphyxiation? I know that's an odd question, but his whole death was odd. My sister and I actually have talked about that quite a lot when we're not doing the podcast. I think a lot of people talk about that. I mean, I hear a lot of comedians, when they make jokes about Robin Williams, it's always a choke jerk joke, which is sort of a slang term for autoerotic asphyxiation. But there is a hilarious book, Trish, written by this woman. I think she might legitimately be schizophrenic, but I like to think that she's not, because it's not as funny if I think she's actually mentally ill. She's written a whole book about a conspiracy theory of how Robin Williams was assassinated. And she sells it on Amazon. And the book is basically starring Vladimir Putin, Brent Spiner, who plays Data in Star Trek, Robin Williams. There's some other people in the mix too. And I think it's mostly just like guys that she's obsessed with. But for some reason, Brent Spiner and Vladimir Putin and Robin Williams are like her three favorite men. And the book is very sexual. It's filled with intrigue, and it's pretty amazing. Go check it out. Her name is Gail. Actually, let me see if I can find let me drop a link in here if I can find it. I got this gift from a viewer and also a good friend of mine of MAME Politics, who's been in here many times. Okay, this is amazing. This is amazing. So you know how a lot of people like to show all the like I fucked Bigfoot like erotic novels on like Amazon, or like the QAnon novels on Amazon and shit like that. To me, they miss gems like this, and this is one of the biggest gems of them all. Out of all the independent book publishers on Amazon, check this out. It's called The Shimmering Sea, Robin Williams Murder. And read this. Make sure you read the synopsis. Well, I'll just read it for you. The synopsis is: Jesuits thought they staged the suicide of Robin Williams to perfection. But Robin shared his heart with Gail from heaven to tell his version of events. The Jesuits threatened death to journalists who dare expose their murder of Robin Williams. Those, like Gail, who have the courage to report the truth, they try to discredit or silence. Gail's story matches the evidence gathered from the Church of Gail forensics teams. Church of Gail is where Robin lived. So, obviously, you have to trust someone who lived with Robin Williams and has her own forensics investigation unit. But see, this type of stuff is funny to me because it's like harmless. When it comes to actual like Project Monarch books, it actually like makes me mad because I'm like, wait a second, MK Ultra is a real thing that like real people need to learn about, and then some like crazy schizophrenic woman is actually like getting on this grift and generating probably thousands and thousands of dollars for herself per month for saying she's a secret brainwashed Project Monarch victim. I mean, that actually pisses me off. At least Gail is just having fun. Maybe Robin Williams' family's not happy about the book. That's kind of a drop in the bucket. Okay. But she's not saying that she's a victim of MK Ultra and that she's an actual victim of CIA mind control and getting on like stupid controlled opposition conspiracy podcasts and stuff like that. I mean, that shit's dumb. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody in here if you're a Project Monarch fan. But I will say that from what I understand about Project Monarch, it largely seems like one of the most obvious versions of some kind of controlled opposition thing to take away from a real thing I've ever seen. I don't know what you guys think about that. Have you seen anything about Project Monarch that makes you think that someone saying I was a CIA sex slave under MK Ultra is actually telling the truth? Have you seen any evidence of that? And actually, I'll be honest, I think MK Ultra, in and of itself, takes away from something almost a little bit more scandalous in my mind. Like, MK Ultra has this mystique. Like, was the CIA trying to use LSD as a weapon? Why were they buying all this LSD? Why were they doing this and that? There's a lot of mystery in it that we actually don't know the answers to, ultimately. Edgewood Arsenal is a military-sponsored hospital where MK Ultra experiments took place, where almost everything has been disclosed because there were tons of civilians working on these experiments there that basically later talked. They tested what could be best described as a weaponized version of Datura, which is probably one of the most dangerous hallucinogens ever ingested by anybody. It's basically poison the U.S. military and the CIA were fiddling with BZ and trying to turn it into a toxic chemical weapon for the battlefield. Jenny Lynn, great way to sum it up. Jenny Lynn says, lying about rape and sex trafficking is vile. I agree. Because if you really cared about rape and sex trafficking, you wouldn't lie about it. You wouldn't spread disinformation about it. You would actually like research the real shit. That's what's so bizarre about a lot of this. There's plenty. I mean, geez, there's plenty of real, even organized abuse where there was a conspiracy to abuse children. There's plenty of examples of that. I mean, the Catholic Church being one of the most obvious ones, but like, it's just so wild that people get off onto these weird things where they're like, Project Monarch, the fucking, the Pizzagate is a little actually more understandable to me because it involves politicians. It involves weird Instagram pages with weird pictures. It involves weird art. Some of these other things just don't make as much sense to me. Like the Wayfair thing, that to me was some of the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, I think you actually genuinely have to be a dumb person to believe in that. I hope I'm not offending any random people who are watching this in here who are into the Wayfair conspiracy, but I mean, come on, like, it's one of the dumbest. It almost just seems like a troll. Someone's like, hey, let's make a bunch of Wayfair pages where you could submit your own products and just make them like $100,000 or whatever, and then like spread a conspiracy theory on Reddit saying that it's like child sex trafficking. Silence is violence, go vegan. Here's the sad thing. Within maybe 8 hours of 3 of my friends and acquaintances dying in a fire in Oakland, there were already conspiracies on YouTube about it, saying that it was a false flag, it was a drill, no one died, and people saying it was a satanic sacrifice. That it wasn't necessarily a conspiracy, but that it was arson to murder people, like because it was like a satanic ritual. I saw both versions within like the same day of it happening. And it was pretty upsetting. It's probably the only time where an actual event that I witnessed was characterized, spun on the internet as being like a conspiracy or a hoax. I mean, Clark, it wasn't. Clark says, sorry you had to deal with that. I mean, trust me, it was not it just was not really that big of a deal compared to the pain of watching a burning building that I knew my friends were inside of that I couldn't do anything about. I mean, definitely overshadowed the pain I experienced from the conspiracy videos. Yeah, the ghost ship fire. R.I.P. Joey Cassio. R.I.P. Barrett. I mean, look. They still don't know what happened in that fire. So if a crazy person did set it, it just doesn't make any sense to me why the FBI, the ATF, all the people who were there investigating it wouldn't have concluded that. I mean, the people, there's no expert arsonists who live there, you know? It was probably... It could have happened so many different ways is the problem. If you had seen what the inside of the place looked like, it was a tinderbox. It really could have... Somebody could have just dropped a cigarette in there. I mean, I'm not saying... I'm just completely speculating. The ATF says it was most likely the electrical box that overloaded. But, you know... Yeah, Nathaniel Ritter. I mean, Nathaniel Ritter says so many people getting drugged through legal BS over that. Yes and no. I mean, I think that the landlord, the owner of the building, and the actual like landlord who is subleasing the spaces, um, I think both of them are responsible. So that's, I do think that there should be a lot more availability for artists, more especially not just living spaces for artists or workshops, but like venues to perform in. Yeah, Nathaniel, I probably know who your friend is. I wouldn't say their name here. I know all. I mean, I know of or know all the people who are involved at the ghost ship. People who died. People who are still alive. Um, so don't mention his name here. But and this is not in any way to disparage any of the victims in any way, but the place was an unsafe venue, and I think that myself and a lot of other people in the community took it very seriously that as a community, we can't just blame the city of Oakland and the stifling of artists. We also have to blame ourselves for not policing the community better. I don't mean being a narc. I just mean like warning your friends. Like, oh, you're going to that place tonight? Like, it's too easy to just want to, sort of just want to get along and not make any waves in that regard. But sometimes I feel like the music scene just tends to be a little too easygoing about things that could be ultimately dangerous. And this is not about Oakland or any specific music scene, but when it comes to underground venues, they need to be safe. They need to be, respectful towards the people who are coming in, to their safety, Um, and yeah, I mean, it does bug me sometimes when the narrative that came out here in the local press about it was all about how it was the city's fault and stuff. I mean, yes, the city definitely played a huge role. But I think that the community itself sort of absolved itself a little disingenuously about it. And I stand by that because I think some people did take it very seriously, but I think a lot of other people wanted to put out a prettier narrative. And I even heard some people using identity politics to avoid that issue. And that really bugged me when they were like, this was a safe space for people of color. It wasn't a safe space, period, for anybody. It wasn't a safe space, literally. So to use that term like that, like safe space in terms of like you could feel belong in this community, that's like almost offensive to me. To skip over like the idea of it being like it's not a safe space at all. And also to top it off with the fact that the guy who ran the place, I mean, he dabbled into some weird stuff. He had a blog saying that the swastika needs to be rebranded because Nazis stole it from Hindus and we need to take it back. I mean, and he's like watching people getting burned at the Ganges River while smoking weed. The guy who ran the place was really sketchy. Okay. But yeah, that's all I'll say about it. I usually don't talk about anything this personal on the show, so I'm sorry if I'm going off a little bit. I was thinking today, I'm surprised. I mean, maybe they're really underground, but I haven't heard about many like underground parties happening around here, like music shows. And I don't know if that's because more people are in the community here are taking it more seriously in other places. I've heard about big parties like warehouse parties happening in other places around the country and in Europe, but not so much out here right now. So maybe I'm just not in the loop. Could be. Let's do this. Holy fuck, dude. Any new news? Did Trump do anything crazy in the last hour? Son of a bitch. Oh my god, I'm doing so bad. Such good music. Fuck! Level Anchorage, I tried to skate when I was like in elementary school, early middle school, but I always sucked at it. So I didn't really like go far with it. I think I'm gonna conclude this episode by trying something else. Trying another game. Let me get rid of this music because it's so annoying. Let me switch other games on here. Anybody have a game request? Oh, did Q just post? Oh, Steve Pachenik. Steve Pachenik is now going viral again, saying that all the ballots are watermarked and that this was all a setup by the group of patriots to catch the Democrats in the act of voter fraud. Did I mention that at the beginning of this episode? Steve Pachenik just went viral again. So he seems to be back in play. Something having to do with Q. I forgot to mention this, I think, at the beginning of the episode. Home Alone 2 Sega Genesis. All right. Michael Glavey. Mighty Final Fight. Mighty Final Fight or Home Alone 2 Sega Genesis. I think I'm going to go with Mighty Final Fight this time. Home Alone 2 for Sega Genesis sounds like shit. Unless it's not. Like, is it actually a good game? What is the main event, director? Wait, what? Tucker Carlson is really threatening civil war on his show? Yeah. You know, I mean, unless he's backed by the CIA or like black ops operators who want to make shit go off in this country, I don't think it's going to work. I really don't think it's going to work. And if he's actually saying that, he's going to be fired from Fox News tomorrow. They're going to let him go. That is too far of a bridge even for Fox News. for the most popular TV show, even though it maybe generates their biggest ratings, if he's actually inciting civil war. I mean, Bannon just said he wants Christopher Wray and Fauci's head on a pike, so maybe these dumb motherfuckers are going full kamikaze. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe this is the faction of Trump's sort of black ops intelligence connected side of the deep state coming into action. I don't know. But like I've said for a long time, I think Tucker is a complete op. I don't think he's authentic in any way. I don't think it's just that his dad was CIA asset. I think that Tucker Carlson is probably one too. I think Tucker Carlson is definitely in some way some kind of conduit for the faction of the deep state that Trump represents or that's on Trump's team. And if you really think about it, who's one of the most popular media outlets, media conduits for Trump's team? It's Tucker. So I hate to say it. It's not just that Tucker is a limited hangout. It's that he's actually part of the deep state. That's the crazy part. That is the crazy part. So if a faction of the deep state is saying it's time to go to the streets and pour blood, all right. Let's see what happens. You stupid motherfuckers. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, is it okay to threaten Tucker's life on Twitter if he's saying that about the public? Because I really want to go a little harder on Tucker if I'm being completely honest. So, I'm going to go take a pee. And no, I'm not trying to kamikaze. No, I'm not trying to kamikaze my YouTube channel right now. Don't worry. So yeah, if Tucker Carlson is actually saying that on his show, I mean, he's deep state. He's come out of the closet as being deep state. Hey, Queen. How's it going? Okay, so we're going to get into some mighty final fight action right now. I mean, this looks pretty goddamn cool so far, so. Just let me know if Tucker does anything crazy, okay? Like, let me know what Hudson Institute or PNAC adjacent neocons he brings on his program, because I'm telling you, the past couple days, there's actually been a pattern of Committee on the Present Danger China and Hudson Institute and Claremont Institute neocons pushing the narrative that they're going to try to oust Trump in a color revolution. Not just a deep state coup, but that it's going to be like a foreign sponsored color revolution working with like the Chi-Coms and the Democrats. So that's very interesting that they're dipping into the sort of watered down. Jonathan Turley on Tucker Carlson. Wow, Clark, that's interesting. Let's see what he has to say. Hey, Bayonets. Chat's getting weird in here. Chat's starting to get weird. Of course, Hagar. You think I'm an idiot? Oh, this is pretty awesome. Oh, I like this. I've never played this. Oh, this is great. Oh, this is fucking great. Oh, shit! Oh, this is fantastic. Wait, what do I do? Nice. Oh, this is fun. Is it 2-player co-op? Like Double Dragon 2? Oh, you motherfucker. This kind of sounds like Mega Man. Fuck you, motherfucker. Son of a bitch. Oh shit, it's the same boss from the first one. Wow, this is funny. Dude, this is way too much dialogue. Fuck this shit. Oh, you son of a bitch. Is he gonna whistle for his dudes just like in the arcade? Take that, motherfucker. You son of a bitch, dude. So he doesn't whistle. Huh. I mean, I don't like it as much as Double Dragon. Like they seem to nail better the Double Dragon hitbox and like the fighting mechanics. Like especially Double Dragon 2. I think it's really nice. Plays really, really nicely still for an NES game. Beat 'em up. This game is pretty close, but it doesn't feel as satisfying. It's fun though. Got some neat music. I like it. Music that reminds you of Mega Man. Oh, wow, you can block. I'm so used to robo gaming. I'm so used to like the aesthetics of the Nintendo Double Dragon 2 and the music in it that I don't like the arcade version. Like, because I played the Nintendo one so much and fell in love with it so much as a kid that when I try to play the arcade version, it like does nothing for me. And even when I was a kid, when I would play the arcade version, I'd see it around after playing the Nintendo one, and I'd never liked it. It's like funny how much the Nintendo one just really like checked all those boxes for me and like deeply resonated with me as a kid. Like I just absolutely loved it. Deep State Tuck. Deep State Tucker Carlson. Oh, wow, look at that. Oh, it's not that cool. Not as cool as Zen. We saw some really impressive scrolling on Zen. This is kind of... Oh, it's cool. It's got two layers. The foreground and the background. At least it's some scrolling. All later period Nintendo games have more impressive graphics than the earlier ones. They really figured out how to maximize the technology towards the end of the the end of the regular Nintendo's lifespan. Takes away from your life bar. It's bullshit. And I don't like that in any of these beat 'em up games. But you see me still playing it. I'm digging it. Look at my experience points too. What do I have to do to get more experience points? Seems like I have to keep doing chain combo type stuff. I don't know what like other moves I can do. It seems like I can't. There's like special moves, but oh, that's how I gotta get closer to him to throw him. Okay, that makes sense. Makes a little more sense. Fucker. Son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch. Ouch. You know what? I have to admit, I don't like how the Final Fight universe and the Street Fighter universe are connected. I'm not going to be the first one to say this. I did not like Street Fighter Alpha. I did not care for it, and I never got into it. Because I think it was the first time where they really revealed that those universes were connected. And not only that, I just didn't like it. And I don't know why I don't like it. Because, like, usually I would like something like that. I'd be like, oh, that's fucking amazing that Final Fight and Street Fighter are the same universe. But, like, the more I think about it, the more I don't like it. I don't know why. It feels chintzy to me. It feels like they're not in the same universe. What is the Mega City? Is that the city that is it Final Fight? That feels like it's not part of the Street Fighter universe. Hagar does not feel like he's in Street Fighter, so... Darkstalkers is a Capcom franchise I can get on board. What's really funny too is I would actually probably be more into the versus game Capcom versus SNK, because it was like one of the later mashup games Capcom made, but they don't generate almost any new sprites in the game, and SNK does. Like SNK actually like provided like a lot of new assets, and for some reason Capcom just like slummed it, and they're like, oh, just take all our old shit, like here's all our sprites from like the past like 8 years. It's weird. So what is going on with Trump right now? What the hell is he doing? Anything interesting? I'm trying to see if he's tweeted anything. But I mean, don't you think it's, going back to how I first opened this episode, don't you think it is weird that they rolled out the Hunter Biden laptop leak so poorly? I mean, yes, I will admit that the media like trying to outright bury it, Twitter trying to censor it off their social networks, Facebook removing it, those kind of things were sketchy and probably didn't help its viral reach. But I still feel that they really flubbed the rollout. And I'm confused why they did such a bad job. Was there really nothing in the Hunter Biden leak that in and of itself was like too damaging, and they just wanted to hype it up themselves and make people think it was going to be this big thing? I'm still confused about that. I don't really understand what they were trying to accomplish with that. The Tony Bobulinski thing is weird because that story just told me, oh, corrupt politicians who do sketchy backroom deals with foreign governments profiting off the back of their political office hire consultants who are ex-intelligence people named Tony Bobulinski, who I guess this is a common job where these guys who are ex-intelligence help these corrupt politicians shepherd deals through with sketchy foreign countries or in sketchy situations. Like that to me is the more interesting part of the story, is that a person like Tony Bobulinski even exists at all, and that his job is actually probably like a common job in DC. That somehow ex-intelligence people get involved in like helping politicians score corrupt deals and advise them on how to do it. I just think it's weird that that was supposed to be the slam dunk. I listened to all the interview footage of it. It was almost meaningless in terms of being any sort of allegation that like Biden's going to be influenced by China or controlled by China. And ultimately, I was just surprised that that's how much they leaned into it. I didn't understand. And honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I think they were in some ways counting on a Trump loss. The people who are behind deploying that, the Hunter Biden leaks, or they were just dumb. But it doesn't make sense to me. They don't seem that dumb. So, I mean, Rudy Giuliani does. but somehow he seems like protected. Like, how hasn't he gone to jail yet for all the sketchy shit? How hasn't some investigative reporter completely blown open all his criminal activity yet? Something about him seems connected to people who protect him. And I'm saying that because look at his whole career. So maybe it's given him some hubris. Maybe they had hubris on their side that deluded them this time around. That could be one of the psychological things that happened to their side this time around. And I say their side, the Trump side. I'm not on the Biden side. I'm not on anyone's side. I'm just describing that faction. Yeah, it's kind of, it doesn't really work if Biden is trying to blast out Hunter being a junkie, is one of the worst things about him, when Trump is bringing the My Pillow guy to his rallies to congratulate him on quitting crack and turning around his life. It just doesn't square with that. I mean, by all appearances, Hunter Biden seems less like, well, I won't say less sleazy. I was going to compare Hunter Biden to the My Pillow guy. I don't know what kind of political point I was trying to make with that one. Great. Oh, this is great. I love it. Donald Trump Jr. is now whining about GOPers not standing up for his dad. Well, an hour ago on Twitter. I love it. Michael Flynn just tweeted 45 minutes ago, calling all Republican leaders, muster your courage. Time is now to speak up and join with patriots across America and back Donald Trump, our POTUS. Defend election integrity of the most important election in U.S. history. Stop the fraud. God bless America. Let me do a little search for Steve Pachenik right now to see if his video clip is going viral. Give me a sec. So this is what the actual Steve Pachenik video says. Steve Pachenik claims that election ballots across America have been watermarked in a giant sting operation on the Democratic Party, and they will be exposed when they attempt to cheat. When they? Well, that's interesting. When they attempt to cheat. Interesting. So not that they cheated. That's an interesting choice of words. InfoWars is not committing to the idea that this was stolen from them yet. Maybe because the count isn't in yet and they don't know where it's going to go. It's just funny how they're doing this now when it's not even finished counting yet. I mean, that to me says a lot. They're just trying to prepare people for a Trump loss in some way. Hey, Trish, wishing you well on your surgery. I didn't know you were getting ready to have surgery. Sending you positive energy, love from here in California. Please be well, recover quickly, and feel better soon. It sucks to not be able to eat or drink before a medical procedure. I just had to go through a CAT scan, and I had to fast before, and just getting a CAT scan was scary. So, yes, I'm okay. But just the act of taking one was, um, not fun. Hey, Tree Brain. Yeah, that speech, I mean, low energy Trump, that speech was just so half hearted. Seemed like he wanted to be over with as quick as possible. Didn't give a shit. Seemed just beaten down, sad. And it was funny to watch this CNN panel flip back on afterwards and be like, this is a disgrace to the nation. What he's doing is dangerous, etc., etc. It's like, dude, you guys should be lucky. I mean, you guys should be like kind of thankful that he didn't go full Q. I'm not saying like thank Trump that he didn't act like an insane lunatic just now when he went on TV, but like think of what it would have been like if he did. Think of how crazy that would have been if 2 hours ago Trump went on TV, not just necessarily went full Q, but just like gave like a riffing speech about how the election's being stolen by the Democrats. There's a conspiracy by the deep state. His supporters need to get out there and stop the count. Think about what that could have been like. It would have been pretty frightening, I think. Even though I like to pretend like I'm above it and unplugged from a lot of this stuff, but like I probably would have felt really, really anxious if I watched that. I maybe would have like laughed while he was doing it just out of like sheer shock. Like, oh my God, like what? And then like afterwards just been like, oh fuck. Like he did it. He flipped the switch. If life is a leaf says might still happen, Robbie. Yes, it might. It might still happen. It might still happen. For whatever reason right now, he seems mentally defeated enough, embarrassed enough by the results that they've shown so far to not lean into what this on the ground team for him wants to do. He's hesitant. I mean, to me, that's obvious. I don't think it's a head fake from him. I don't think so. I mean, well, let me ask the chat. Do you think Trump did a head fake on that speech and he's actually ready to call his troops into action in that regard? Do you think that was telegraphed that tonight? Do you think I'm maybe naive for thinking that he is actually sort of wearing his heart on his sleeve right now? Do you think that's naive of me? Because that's sort of where I'm thinking, is that he seems like, even the way his son was tweeting about him today seems like he's mad at dad a little bit, honestly. I mean, is Don Jr. smart enough Machiavellian enough to create the illusion that he's mad at his dad for not standing up more? I don't think so. I mean, I do think on some level these people are idiotic. Listen to them talk for a long enough period of time. It's not all just a pure performance. Clark Worthington, I agree. I think I agree with you. I think that Clark says, I think it'll be weak, but I think something more is coming. Yes, I think it's always safe to assume that with Trump. That something more is coming. I do. So I don't want to... I don't want to fearmonger people, but I also don't want to say that I think we're getting through this clean. Because I think I've long believed that getting out of this scenario, whatever this is, I'm not saying like being saved by Biden or the Democrats. Absolutely not. I mean, getting out of just this weird situation that we're in where Trump is president and what it's done culturally to us, it's not going to be a clean break. It's not going to be like we're getting out of this. Absolutely not. So however that plays out, whether that plays out in terms of Trump's behavior from now until inauguration, or it plays out differently, I don't know, but it could just play out directly with Trump. I mean, to me right now, he's telegraphing that he's thrown in the towel. Maybe that's way too optimistic. Yeah, Jenny Lynn, I think that's more Whitney Webb's approach to this. Jenny Lynn just said, I think both parties have a plan for us with this election chaos, and we're the last to know. Whitney Webb's framing, I think, about this, or her focus right now, is on all these sort of game theorized out things that could go wrong with the election, the domestic terror angle, and how that sort of could play into each other. I'm definitely worried about some of that too. You can listen to our discussion about that on my YouTube channel. But man, I mean, to me, it's like it's a headline. Like CNN should have been running on the Chiron. I mean, why not? Everyone accuses CNN of being like a compromised liberal network anyways. Why not just run a Chiron under Trump speaking, saying Trump's former campaign advisor says he wants Dr. Fauci's severed head and Christopher Wray's severed head on a pike in front of the White House. I mean, isn't that a headline? Isn't that pretty crazy that his former campaign advisor said that on like a live streaming show? How's that not a headline on CNN? And I honestly think that's a bridge too far for Fox News. I would be surprised if Bannon got invited back on Fox News anytime soon. What do you guys think about that? Do you think Fox News will have him on tomorrow? Because he's been going on recently. But after he said that on War Room Pandemic, I feel like maybe he's not going to get invited back on. I don't know, though. Fox News is so craven, maybe they will. Connor Freeman says, are they treating Bannon with kid gloves? That may say something. Patrick Blair says, I don't think what Bannon said tonight would make a difference whether Fox would have him back on or not. Alex Everson asks, what happened with Bannon's arrest? What happened with Bannon's arrest is that he's still charged with a crime. He hasn't gone to trial yet for it. He just got out on bail. So he's out on bail, I think, awaiting some kind of trial. And also Miles Guo, his funder, is currently under investigation for fraud by the SEC and the FBI. So that could also come back to get him a separate, completely unrelated charge. Yeah, the idea of Fox News infighting is great. I mean, any kind of like infighting with these like media hacks. But I think especially Fox News because, I don't know, I mean, I don't really consider myself a partisan, but Fox News really left an imprint in my mind during the War on Terror. Like when I was watching Fox News during the Bush era, it felt to me like a Nazi television channel. Even though all the other networks were bad also, pumping out war propaganda, Fox News was by far the worst. Um, it was a very fascist feeling era to me. So I am extremely satisfied when I see people on Fox News eat shit, get exposed. That's part of why I'm so bothered by someone like Tucker Carlson, presenting himself as some kind of anti-neocon, anti-establishment, anti-deep state personality. Because Fox News has sort of always been ahead of the curve of capturing sort of more of the conspiracy mind. And I do think it's an op. I don't know what Tucker's real deal is, but yeah, like I said on this program tonight, if he's saying that kind of stuff, like what was quoted by some of my viewers tonight in the chat, if he's actually saying that tonight, then I think it's safe to say that he is actually part of some kind of deep state faction that is warring with another part. It's not the regular working class versus the ruling class, like his stupid segments on his program try to claim. It's the deep state versus the deep state. And we're basically just stuck in the middle of it watching this shit all play out. I guess that's the scary part. It won't be like even the Civil War, of the when did the Civil War start? The 1860s? I don't even know exactly when. But it won't be like that Civil War because it'll basically be started by these factions of our ruling class warring with each other. I mean, maybe that was on some level fed into our past Civil War, but this is different. I think it's scarier in a different way. So thank you again for checking out MAME Politics. Really appreciate it. I really enjoy chatting with everybody in here. And we'll do it again soon. And as always, if you want to get access to the previous 88 episodes of the show, you can get access to all of them. Over half of them are on YouTube for free. They're publicly uploaded. But if you want to get access to all of them, become a Patreon subscriber of mine at patreon.com/Robbie Martin. And you can subscribe for $5 a month and get access to all of the previous 88 episodes instantly. So thanks again, everybody. Have a good night and just try to stay sane out there. I can't even believe this election's not over yet. Jesus Christ. All right. Take care.